The blood on Hannah's bare feet wasn't hers. She'd run 3 blocks in nothing but a torn nightgown, her 7-year-old lungs screaming for air she couldn't catch. Behind her, in that apartment parking lot, her mama was dying. The men inside Sally's roadside diner didn't know it yet, but in 30 seconds, 8 leather-clad strangers would make a choice that would either save 2 lives or destroy their own. Some decisions don't give you time to think. This was one of them. Before we dive into what happened next, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because this story gets darker before it gets light, and you'll want to see how it ends. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to know how far Hannah's story travels. Now let's go back to that Saturday morning when everything changed. Emma's throat burned worse than her feet. She'd stopped screaming 20 minutes ago, stopped crying 10 minutes after that. Now she just sat watching her parents' car burn black against the sky. The Scorpion riders were gone. The highway was empty, and Emma was 6 years old with nowhere to go. Her bare feet had blistered on the asphalt. She couldn't remember where her shoes went. Everything after the gunshots felt blurry and wrong, like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. The car had pulled over at dawn. Emma had been half asleep in the back seat, clutching Mr. Hopper's, when her father's voice went tight. "Sarah, they found us." Her mother's hand reached back, squeezed Emma's knee. "Baby, I need you to be very quiet. Can you do that?" Emma nodded. 6 motorcycles surrounded their car, black bikes with yellow Scorpion markings. Men with guns and tattoos and eyes that looked through you instead of at you. The leader had a Scorpion tattooed across his throat. He tapped on her father's window with the barrel of his gun. "Michael Chen, you thought you could testify against us." Her father's hands stayed on the steering wheel. "My daughter's in the car. Whatever this is, let her go first." "Your daughter's the reason we're being nice." The tattooed man smiled. "Could have just shot you through the window, but we're not animals. Please, get out of the car." Emma watched her father step out slowly, hands raised. 2 Scorpions grabbed him, forced him to his knees in the dirt. The tattooed man pressed the gun to her father's head. "You were DEA this whole time, playing outlaw, playing us. I was doing my job, and now you're doing your dying." The gunshot made Emma scream. Her mother lunged for the driver's seat, but another Scorpion caught her by the hair, dragged her out of the car. Emma tried to follow, tried to reach her mother, but rough hands grabbed her instead. "What about the kid?" someone asked. The tattooed man glanced at Emma like she was trash. "Leave her. Desert'll handle it. She saw everything. She's 6. Who's gonna believe her?" He turned away. "Burn the car. Make sure there's nothing left." They threw Emma onto the highway. She crawled toward her mother, but someone kicked her back. "Stay down, kid. This ain't your fight anymore." Emma watched them pour gasoline over the car, over her parents' bodies. The flames rose fast and black, and the smell made her gag. Then the motorcycles roared, and they were gone. Emma sat in the middle of the highway, watching everything she loved turn to smoke. She didn't know how long she'd been sitting there when the new sound came. Different engines. Heavier. More of them. Her heart hammered. Were they coming back? 7 motorcycles crested the hill. Chrome and steel and angel wings painted on the gas tanks. Not black bikes with Scorpions. These were bigger, louder, older. The lead bike stopped 50 feet away. The rider was huge. Gray beard, scarred hands, eyes that had seen things and survived them. He killed his engine and climbed off slowly. "Hey there, little one." His voice came out gentle despite his size. "You hurt?" Emma stared at him. Her voice cracked. "Are you with the Scorpions?" "No, ma'am. We're Hell's Angels." He took another step closer. "My name's Bear. You know what Hell's Angels do?" Emma shook her head. "We protect people." He knelt down, making himself smaller. "Especially kids. Can you tell me your name?" "Emma." "Emma. That's real pretty." Bear's eyes flicked to the burning car, calculating. "Emma, honey, where are your parents?" The question broke something inside her. "They killed them," Emma whispered. The scorpions shot my mommy and daddy and burned them and left me here to die. Bear's face went hard. Behind him, the other riders cursed and revved their engines, but Bear stayed focused on Emma. Listen to me. Nobody's going to hurt you again, I promise. Promises don't work. My daddy promised we'd be safe. Your daddy was trying. Sometimes the world's just cruel. Bear held out his hand. But I keep my promises. Always have. You can test me on that. Emma looked at his hand, scarred, calloused, so big compared to hers. If I come with you, will there be water? Bear's jaw tightened. Yeah, a little bit. Water and food and safety. Everything you need. Emma put her hand in his. Bear lifted her like she weighed nothing. She was all bones and terror and sunburn. He turned to his riders. Diesel, call Martinez. Tell her we found a survivor. Ghost document everything. Wrench, hammer, crow, perimeter. Nobody touches this scene. What about the girl? Diesel asked. She's coming with us. Bear, we can't just... She's coming with us. Bear's voice dropped into command mode. We're not leaving a 6-year-old at a crime scene while bureaucracy shows up. He carried Emma to his Harley, settled her in front of him on the seat. You ever been on a motorcycle? Emma shook her head. It's loud, but it's safe. Hold these handlebars here. I've got you. Okay. The engine roared. Emma flinched, but didn't let go. They rode with 6 angels flanking them. Bear kept one arm wrapped around Emma, kept his speed down, kept his word. The clubhouse appeared through the heat shimmer, fences and cameras, and a woman on the porch who looked like she could stop a truck with one hand. Mama Rose descended the steps as they pulled in. She was built, solid silver hair braided down her back, eyes sharp enough to cut glass. When she saw Emma, her whole face changed. Who's this? Emma Chen, Bear said, helping Emma down. Scorpions murdered her parents, left her on Route 89. Mama Rose's expression went dangerous. Scorpions. Yeah, she knelt to Emma's level. Hello, sweetheart. I'm Mama Rose. You hungry? Emma nodded. You like pancakes? Another nod. Then come inside. We'll worry about everything else after you eat. Mama Rose held out her hand. Emma took it. As they walked toward the clubhouse, Mama Rose murmured, You're safe now, little one. Nobody touches our family, and your family now. Inside, Mama Rose sat Emma at the kitchen table and poured cold water into a glass. Emma drank like she'd been lost for days. Slow down, baby. It'll make you sick. Emma forced herself to slow down. Mama Rose started mixing pancake batter. You have kids? Emma asked quietly. Had a daughter once, Emily. She'd be 35 now if she'd lived. What happened? Car accident. Drunk driver. Mama Rose flipped a pancake. That's why I protect the young ones who come through here. I couldn't save Emily, but I can save you. Emma thought about that. My daddy tried to save me. He did save you. You're here. The pancakes came out perfect. Emma ate slowly at first, then faster. In the next room, Bear's voice rose. What do you mean, federal? DEA. Jesus. Yeah, we've got the daughter. No, she's not going to CPS yet. Maria, if they killed 2 federal agents, they're hunting loose ends. That kid is the loosest end in Arizona. He came back into the kitchen, face grim. Emma, can I ask about your daddy's job? Emma looked up. He said it was boring. Paperwork. Did people come to your house at weird times? Did you move a lot? Emma's eyes widened. We moved 4 times in 2 years. Mommy didn't like it. Daddy said it was important. Bear exchanged a look with Mama Rose. Emma, your daddy was very brave. He was DEA, a federal agent. He was working to stop bad people. That's why the scorpions hurt him. He lied to me. He was protecting you. The less you knew, the safer you were. But I wasn't safe. Emma's voice broke. They found us anyway. Mama Rose wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Sometimes bad things happen even when good people do everything right. That's not your fault. Emma's tears came silent and exhausted. Bear's phone buzzed. He stepped away, listened, and his whole body went rigid. When he came back, he looked like someone had punched him. Emma, your daddy filed custody papers 3 weeks ago, in case something happened to him. What kind of papers? Papers that said who should take care of you if he died. Bear's voice went rough. He named me. Emma stared. But you never met him. I know, but he investigated us. He knew we were good people. He trusted us to protect you. Bear knelt beside her chair. He left me a letter. It says keep her safe, keep her alive, help her finish what I started. What did he start? A war against the Scorpions, against their cartel bosses, against everyone who helped them. Bear took a breath. Emma, your daddy was a hero, and he asked me to make sure you stay safe while we finish his mission. For how long? For as long as you need. What if that's forever? Something cracked open in Bear's chest. Then it's forever. Emma climbed down from her chair and wrapped her arms around his neck. Bear held her while she cried. This child he'd met 2 hours ago. This little girl who'd just become his whole world. Mama Rose wiped her eyes and busied herself with dishes. After Emma cried herself out, Bear carried her to the meeting room and laid her on the couch with a blanket. She was asleep in seconds. Then he faced his brothers. Diesel, Ghost Wrench. Hammer, Crow, and Sly stood waiting. 6 men who'd followed him through hell and would follow him through worse. That little girl's father was DEA, Bear said. The Scorpions killed him for trying to bring down their cartel connections. He named me as Emma's guardian. Why you? Diesel asked. Because he investigated us and decided we were trustworthy. Because he knew what was coming. Bear's jaw set. The Scorpions are going to realize they left a witness. They're going to come for her, and they're going to find us. So we're going to war, Ghost said. I'm going to war. Any of you who want out, now's the time. Wrench snorted. You'd be dead in a week without us. We ride together, Hammer said. Crow nodded. Kid needs us. Diesel crossed his arms. Scorpions have been pushing into our territory anyway. This just gives us a good reason. Bear looked at each of them. This is going to get ugly. They've got cartel backing, numbers, weapons. So did the Taliban, Ghost said quietly. We handled them. Bear nodded slowly. Then we prepare. Ghost surveillance on every road. Diesel inventory weapons. Wrench reinforce the gates. Full lockdown. The angels dispersed. Within an hour, the clubhouse transformed into a fortress. Bear sat beside Emma and watched her sleep. Her face still had dirt streaked through the tears. Her small hands were curled into fists. Mama Rose sat on his other side. You sure about this, Marcus? He used his real name. That meant she was serious. Chen trusted me. That has to mean something. It means you're a good man, but good men die too. Not before I finish this. Emma stirred, murmured, opened her eyes. Bear. Right here. I had a bad dream. The Scorpions came back. Bear shifted so she could see his face. Emma, those men are dangerous. They might come looking, but they won't get you. This place is a fortress. These men are warriors, and I don't break promises. My daddy made promises too. Your daddy was one man against an organization. I'm 7 men with military training and a very good reason to win. Bear brushed hair from her face. Your daddy started this war. We're finishing it. How? First, we keep you safe. Second, we find the evidence he hid. Third, we make sure everyone who hurt your family faces justice. What evidence? Bear remembered Chen's letter. Emma knows where, but she doesn't know she knows. When you left your house this morning, did you bring anything, a toy, anything? Emma's face fell. Mr. Hoppers, my rabbit. He was in the car. What's Mr. Hoppers look like? He's gray with floppy ears and button eyes. Daddy sewed his stomach a few weeks ago because it ripped. Bear's heart jumped. Sewed his stomach. Yeah, Daddy said he made him stronger. Bear grabbed his phone. Martinez. The stuffed rabbit in the trunk. I need it. An hour later, Martinez arrived alone. She was 40, sharp-eyed, with presence that commanded respect. She handed Bear an evidence bag with a singed rabbit inside. I shouldn't be doing this. The kid needs something familiar. Martinez's eyes narrowed. You thinking what I'm thinking? That Chen hid something in a toy because it's the last place anyone would look. Yeah. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. But Bear, whatever you find, bring it to me. No vigilante justice. And if the book gets more people killed, then we write a new book. Martinez glanced past him. That kid's been through enough. She left. Bear brought the rabbit to Emma. Emma's face lit up for the first time since the desert. Mr. Hoppers. She grabbed him and hugged him tight. Emma, can I see him for a second? She hesitated, then handed him over. Bear examined the rabbit carefully. When he pressed the stomach, he felt something hard beneath the fabric. Did your daddy fix Mr. Hoppers recently? Yeah, a few weeks ago. His stomach was ripped. Bear's pulse hammered. I need to borrow him. I think your daddy put something inside, something important for stopping the bad men. Emma's expression turned serious. Okay, but be careful with him. I promise. Bear took the rabbit to Ghost, who carefully unpicked the stitching. A USB drive fell into his palm. Ghost plugged it into an air-gapped laptop. Military-grade encryption. Whoever made this knew their stuff. The screen filled with files. Financial records, communications, photographs, video footage. A complete dossier on the Scorpion Riders' operations. Their cartel connections, their trafficking routes, their money laundering, and names. Border Patrol agents, state senators, DEA supervisors, federal judges. People who were supposed to protect the innocent had sold out for cartel money. Jesus Christ, Ghost whispered. This goes to the top. Bear stared at the screen, hands clenched. Chen died for this. Sarah died for this. That little girl lost everything for this. What do we do? Bear thought about Martinez's warning. But if corrupt officials reach this high, who could they trust? Make 3 copies. One stays here encrypted. One goes to Martinez. One goes to FBI Internal Affairs in DC anonymously. And then, we wait for the Scorpions to make their move. Because they will. Bear's jaw tightened. When they come, we'll be ready. Over the next 3 days, the Angels prepared. Ghost installed motion sensors. Diesel stockpiled ammunition. Wrench reinforced the gates with steel. Hammer and Crow ran drills. Emma watched everything with wide eyes. Are you building a fort? She asked Bear. Something like that. Because they're coming. Maybe. But we're ready. He knelt to her level. Emma, I've done this before. In Afghanistan. Iraq. Protecting people is what I was trained for. He tapped her chest gently. And you're the most important person I've ever protected. Emma threw her arms around his neck. That night the Angels gathered in the chapel, a small room at the back where they held their most sacred meetings. Emma stood in the center wearing clean clothes, her hair braided. Mama Rose held a small leather vest, child-sized, Hell's Angels insignia stitched across the back. Emma Chen, Bear said formally. You came to us broken. But you're not broken anymore. You're family. Mama Rose slipped the vest onto Emma's shoulders. This vest means you're one of us. It means we protect you. It means no one touches you without going through us first. Bear's voice deepened. It means family. The other Angels stepped forward, each placing a hand on Emma's shoulder. Family is forever, they said together. Emma looked up at Bear, tears shining. Forever. Forever. And Marcus, Bear Williams, ex-Marine Hell's Angel man, who'd survived wars and wounds that never healed, became a father. 2 hours before dawn on the 4th day, Ghost's voice cracked over the radio. They're here. 12 bikes, coming in fast. The clubhouse erupted into controlled chaos. Bear ran to Emma's room. Emma, wake up. We need to move. She woke instantly, fear sharp in her eyes. They're here. Yeah, remember what we practiced? He handed her a small silver whistle. You stay in the communications room with Ghost. Don't come out for anything. If I tell you to blow that whistle, you blow it loud as you can. Understand? Emma nodded, clutching the whistle. Bear carried her to the communications room, reinforced steel, no windows, 1 door. Ghost was already monitoring screens. 12 hostiles, all armed, spreading out to surround us. Making sure we don't run. Bear set Emma down gently. Stay with Ghost. no matter what you hear. What if something happens to you? Bear cupped her face in his hands. Then Ghost gets you out, but nothing's happening to me. I promise. He kissed her forehead and left. Outside, the Scorpions had cut the power. Emergency lights kicked in. Bear grabbed his rifle and moved to his position. Through the window, he saw them advancing. 12 men in formation, weapons drawn. The tattooed leader stood at the front. The same man who'd killed Chen and Sarah. "We know the kid's in there. Send her out and we'll let you walk," Bear's voice boomed back. "You killed 2 federal agents and left a 6-year-old in the desert. You think we're handing her over? She's a loose end. Then you should have thought of that before you murdered her parents." Bear chambered around. "You want her? Come take her." The Scorpions opened fire. Bullets shattered windows, punched through walls, ricocheted off steel reinforcements. The Angels returned fire with precision, controlled bursts, making every shot count. Diesel dropped 2 Scorpions at the east fence. Wrench's traps took out 3 more. But the Scorpions kept coming. In the communications room, Emma huddled under the desk, hands over her ears. Ghost worked the radios. "Diesel, you've got 2 flanking south. Wrench, reinforce the back." The battle raged 30 minutes. The Scorpions tried 3 different breaches. Each time the Angels pushed them back. But they were outnumbered. Running low on ammunition, Bear made his decision. "Emma, you hear me?" Her voice came back small. "I hear you." "Remember the whistle?" "Yes." "Blow it now, loud as you can." Emma lifted the silver whistle to her lips and blew. The sound cut through gunfire, sharp, clear, unmistakable. Within 60 seconds, sirens wailed. Within 2 minutes, FBI tactical units swarmed the compound. The Scorpions, caught between Angels and federal agents, tried to run. They didn't make it. The tattooed leader took a bullet to the leg and went down screaming. The others surrendered or died trying. When the shooting stopped, Bear ran to the communications room. Emma sat exactly where he'd left her, still clutching the whistle. "Is it over?" Bear lifted her into his arms. "Yeah, a little bit. It's over." But it wasn't. Not yet. Because in the evidence taken from the Scorpions that night, Martinez found encrypted communications with the same corrupt officials named in Chen's files. The investigation exploded outward. Arrests swept 6 states. Senators resigned. Border agents were indicted. DEA supervisors were fired. Michael Chen's final mission achieved what he'd set out to do. And Emma, the small witness he'd protected with his last breath, lived to see justice done. In the weeks that followed, Emma stayed at the clubhouse. Mama Rose taught her to cook. Ghost taught her chess. Diesel showed her motorcycles. And Bear taught her the most important lesson: family isn't always blood. One morning, Emma found Bear on the porch, drinking coffee, watching the sunrise. She climbed into his lap without asking. "Bear." "Yeah, a little bit." "My daddy told me something before everything. He said, if something happens, trust the man who keeps his promises." She looked up at him. "He meant you." Bear's throat tightened. "How did he know?" "He said he could see it in your eyes, that you were the kind of person who'd die before breaking a promise." Emma leaned against his chest. He was right. Bear wrapped his arms around her and watched the sun climb higher. He'd found Emma on a highway 4 weeks ago, broken, terrified, alone. Now she laughed when Mama Rose told jokes. Now she slept through the night. Now she trusted again. And Bear, who'd spent years believing he was too damaged to care for anyone, discovered he'd been wrong. He'd been waiting his whole life for this mission. He just hadn't known it yet. 3 weeks had passed since the battle, but Emma still woke up screaming. Bear heard it from his room across the hall, a small, terrified sound that cut straight through his chest. He was at her door in seconds, knocking gently. "Emma, it's Bear. Can I come in?" Silence. Then a shaky, "Okay." He found her sitting up in bed, clutching Mr. Hopper's, tears streaming down her face. "Same dream?" he asked, sitting on the edge of her bed. Emma nodded. "They keep coming back. The Scorpions. They keep finding me." "They can't find you anymore, little bit. Most of them are dead. The rest are in federal prison." "But what if there are more? What if they send different people?" Bear had asked himself the same question every night. The Scorpions had cartel connections. Killing 12 men didn't erase an entire organization. Then we deal with them too. But right now you're safe, I promise. Emma wiped her eyes. You promise a lot. Because I mean it every time. Bear smoothed her hair back. You want some warm milk? Mama Rose says it helps with sleep. Can you stay instead? Something in Bear's chest cracked open wider. Yeah, I can stay. He settled into the chair beside her bed and Emma lay back down watching him like she was afraid he'd disappear. Bear. Yeah. Do you think my daddy knew that you'd be good at this? At what? At being a dad. Bear's throat tightened. I don't know if I'm good at it, little bit. You are. You keep checking on me. You make sure I eat. You don't lie. Emma pulled Mr. Hoppers closer. That's what good dads do. Bear sat there in the dark listening to Emma's breathing slow and even out, and wondered how a 6-year-old had figured out something he was still learning. The next morning, Martinez showed up at the clubhouse with a woman Bear didn't recognize. This is Sarah Hendricks, Martinez said. CPS. Bear's jaw tightened. We talked about this. I know, but it's been 3 weeks, Bear. The courts want to know what's happening with Emma. Sarah Hendricks looked nervous, standing between two Hell's Angels at the front door. She was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and a briefcase clutched too tight. Mr. Williams, I'm not here to take Emma away. I just need to assess the situation. The situation is fine. I'm sure it is. But the state requires... The state didn't save her. We did. Bear crossed his arms. Her father named me guardian. That should be enough. Martinez stepped between them. Bear let her do her job. If everything's good, she documents it and leaves. That's it. Bear wanted to argue. Wanted to tell them both to get the hell off his property. But Emma was watching from the kitchen doorway and he'd promised her stability. Fine, but Mama Rose stays with her the whole time. Sarah Hendricks nodded quickly. Of course. She spent 2 hours at the clubhouse, talked to Emma in the kitchen while Mama Rose made cookies, checked Emma's room, asked questions about meals and bedtime and school. Emma answered everything honestly, too honestly. Do I feel safe here? Yeah. Bear stopped the bad men. He keeps his promises. Does anyone hurt you? No. Mama Rose hugs too tight sometimes, but that's not hurting. What about Mr. Williams? Does he ever get angry? Emma thought about it. Once. When Wrench said a bad word in front of me, Bear made him do push-ups until he apologized. Sarah Hendricks looked at Bear with something close to amusement. When she finished, she pulled Bear aside. Mr. Williams' Emma is thriving here. She's eating well, sleeping reasonably, showing attachment to you and the others. That's remarkable given what she's been through. So we're good. Not quite. The court still needs to finalize the custody arrangement. Michael Chen's emergency filing gives you temporary guardianship, but for permanent custody, you'll need to go through the formal process. How long? 3 to 6 months. Maybe longer if anyone contests it. Who would contest it? Sarah hesitated. Chen's parents, Emma's grandparents. They've been notified of their son's death. If they want custody of Emma, they have the right to petition for it. Bear felt the ground shift under him. Chen's parents. Where are they? San Francisco. We reached out last week. They're processing everything. Martinez touched Bear's arm. We'll deal with it if it comes up. For now, focus on Emma. After they left, Bear sat on the porch steps trying to breathe through the panic. Mama Rose sat down beside him. You're spiraling. Emma's grandparents could take her. They could. Or they might not want to. You can't control everything, Marcus. Chen trusted me with her, not them, me. Then trust that there's a reason for that. Mama Rose squeezed his shoulder. You're doing good work here. Don't let fear ruin it. Bear wanted to believe her, but he'd lost too many things in his life to believe in permanence anymore. That night at dinner, Emma pushed her mashed potatoes around her plate without eating. Not hungry? Bear asked. The lady from CPS asked a lot of questions. She was just checking to make sure you're happy here. Emma set down her fork. Am I going to have to leave? No. But she said something about courts and custody. That sounds like leaving. Bear exchanged a look with Mama Rose. They'd tried to keep the legal complications away from Emma, but the kid was too smart. Emma, your daddy named me as your guardian. That means I'm responsible for you, but the courts have to make it official. Bear reached across the table, took her small hand in his. I'm not letting anyone take you away. You understand? Not courts, not CPS, not anyone. What if my grandparents want me? So she'd heard that part too. Do you remember your grandparents? Bear asked carefully. Emma shook her head. Daddy said they didn't talk anymore. Something about him becoming a cop. They didn't like it. Then they don't get a say now. Bear's voice came out harder than he meant. Your daddy chose me. That's what matters. Emma squeezed his hand. Okay, I trust you. Those 3 words hit Bear harder than any bullet. 2 days later, the call came. Bear was in the garage with Diesel working on his Harley when Ghost appeared in the doorway. We've got a problem. Bear straightened, wiping grease from his hands. What kind of problem? The kind that just pulled up in a Mercedes. Through the garage window, Bear watched an expensive black car park outside the gates. 2 people got out, a man in his 60s wearing a suit that cost more than Bear's motorcycle, and a woman about the same age with Emma's eyes. Chen's parents. Bear's stomach dropped. He walked out to meet them, Diesel and Ghost flanking him. The Angels didn't do intimidation on purpose, but 7 bikers standing in formation sent a message anyway. The man spoke first. Are you Marcus Williams? I am. I'm Richard Chen. This is my wife, Margaret. We're Emma's grandparents. Up close, Margaret looked devastated. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hands shaking despite her expensive clothes. We'd like to see our granddaughter, she said quietly. Bear kept his voice neutral. Emma's inside. She's having lunch. We'd like to see her now. With respect, Mrs. Chen, Emma's been through hell. She doesn't know you. Springing you on her without warning could be traumatic. Richard's face darkened. We're her family. We have every right. Her father had the right to choose her guardian. He chose me. Our son was murdered. We're grieving, and you're keeping our only grandchild from us. Margaret's voice broke. Please, we just want to see her. Bear looked at Margaret's face, the same devastation he saw in Emma's eyes every morning, and felt his resolve crack. Wait here. I'll ask Emma if she wants to meet you. But if she says no, you leave. Understood? Richard started to argue, but Margaret touched his arm. Understood. Bear found Emma in the kitchen with Mama Rose eating grilled cheese. Emma, I need to talk to you about something. Emma looked up, read his expression, and her face went cautious. What's wrong? Your grandparents are here. Your daddy's parents. They want to meet you. Emma's sandwich dropped to her plate. Why? Because you're their granddaughter. Because they loved your daddy and they're grieving too. Daddy said we didn't talk to them. I know, but maybe it's time to change that. Bear knelt beside her chair. You don't have to see them if you don't want to. It's your choice. Emma looked at Mama Rose. What do you think? Mama Rose chose her words carefully. I think people make mistakes, and I think grief makes people want to fix those mistakes. But only you can decide if you're ready. Emma thought for a long moment. Then she said, Okay, but you have to stay with me. Bear nodded. I'm not going anywhere. They brought Richard and Margaret into the clubhouse. Margaret gasped when she saw Emma, a small sound of recognition and heartbreak. You look just like your father, she whispered. Emma stayed close to Bear's side, one hand gripping his leather vest. I don't remember you. We know, sweetheart. We haven't seen you since you were a baby. Margaret knelt down slowly. Your daddy and I had a fight a long time ago, about his job. I said things I didn't mean and we stopped talking. That was wrong. That was my mistake. Daddy said being DEA was important. It was. Your father was a hero. I just didn't see it at the time. Margaret's voice cracked. I'm so sorry, Emma. Sorry I wasn't there for you. Sorry I wasn't there for him. Emma studied her grandmother's face. Then she said, Daddy talked about you sometimes. When he thought I was asleep, he said he missed you." Margaret broke, full sobs that shook her whole body. Richard pulled her into his arms, his own face wet with tears. Bear watched Emma process all of this, the grief, the regret, the complexity of family that wasn't simple or easy. After Margaret composed herself, Richard spoke. "Mr. Williams, we owe you a debt we can never repay. You saved Emma's life. You protected her when we couldn't. I was doing what her father asked. Still, thank you." Richard paused. "We'd like to be part of Emma's life moving forward, if she'll have us." "That's up to Emma." Emma looked up at Bear. He gave her a small nod. "Your choice." "You can visit," Emma said carefully. "But I live here, with Bear and Mama Rose and the Angels. This is my family now." Margaret wiped her eyes. "We understand. We just want to know you. To be your grandparents if you'll let us." "Okay. But you have to promise something. Anything. Don't try to take me away. I've lost too many people already. I can't lose Bear too." Margaret looked at Bear, this rough biker who'd become her granddaughter's whole world, and something shifted in her expression. "We won't take you away, Emma. I promise." They visited for an hour. Awkward at first, then slowly warming as Emma showed them her room, introduced them to Mama Rose, told them about the Angels. When they left, Margaret hugged Bear at the door. "Thank you for loving her," she whispered. "Michael chose well." After they were gone, Emma climbed onto the couch next to Bear. "That was weird," she said. "Yeah, but good weird, maybe." Emma leaned against him. "They seem sad." "They are. They lost your daddy, just like you did." "Do you think they'll really not try to take me?" Bear wrapped an arm around her. "I think they meant it, but even if they didn't, I meant what I said. You're not going anywhere." Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Bear, what happens when I grow up? Will I still live here?" "You'll live wherever you want. College probably. Maybe your own place after that. But I can come back." "Emma, this will always be home. You'll always be family. That doesn't change just because you grow up." Emma nodded, satisfied. Then she said, "Good, because I don't want another family. This one's perfect." Bear's throat closed up. He'd spent years believing he wasn't capable of this, of being someone's safe place, someone's home. But Emma had seen something in him that he'd never seen in himself. Maybe Chen had seen it too. The next week, Martinez came by with news. "The FBI wants Emma to testify." Bear's blood went cold. "Absolutely not. Hear me out. The evidence from Chen's USB drive is solid, but defense attorneys are going to argue it was manufactured. Emma's testimony puts a human face on what happened, makes it real. She's 6 years old. You want to put her on a witness stand in front of the people who murdered her parents. In front of a grand jury first. Closed proceedings. No defense attorneys. Just Emma telling her story to a panel of jurors." "No." Martinez sighed. "I knew you'd say that. But Bear, this is bigger than Emma. This is taking down corrupt officials who've been selling out federal agents for years. Chen died for this. Don't let his death be meaningless. His death won't be meaningless. His daughter is alive because of the evidence he gathered. That's enough." "Is it? What about the next agent who gets sold out? The next family destroyed?" Martinez leaned forward. "Emma's testimony could save lives." Bear wanted to argue, wanted to throw Martinez out of the clubhouse, but she was right, and he knew it. "I need to talk to Emma. She's 6. She's 6, but she's not stupid, and I won't make this decision without her." That night, Bear sat Emma down in the chapel. Just the two of them. "Emma, I need to ask you something important, and I need you to be honest with me." Emma's face went serious. "Okay. The FBI wants you to talk to a jury, to tell them what you saw the day the Scorpions hurt your parents." Bear took her hands. "It would help put bad people in prison, but it would also mean talking about that day again, remembering things you probably want to forget." Emma's hands trembled in his. "Would I have to see the Scorpions again? No, they're already in prison. This would be about the other bad people, the ones who helped them. The ones on Daddy's list. Yeah. Emma thought about it for a long time. Then she said, if I don't talk, do the bad people go free? Maybe, probably some of them. And they could hurt more people. Yeah. Emma's jaw set a look Bear had seen before. The look of someone making a hard choice because it was the right one. Then I'll do it. For Daddy. Bear pulled her into his arms. You don't have to be brave all the time, little bit. You're brave. Daddy was brave. I can be brave too. 2 weeks later, they drove to Phoenix for Emma's grand jury testimony. Bear insisted on coming and Martinez didn't fight him on it. Ghost and Diesel came too, flanking them like bodyguards. Emma wore the dress Mama Rose had bought her, blue with white flowers, and carried Mr. Hoppers for courage. In the courthouse hallway, Emma gripped Bear's hand so tight it hurt. What if I forget what to say? You just tell the truth. That's all they need. What if I cry? Then you cry. That's okay too. A bailiff called Emma's name. Bear started to follow, but Martinez stopped him. Only Emma goes in. Those are the rules. She's 6. I'll be with her. I promise she's safe. Bear knelt down to Emma's level. You've got this, little bit. Just tell them what happened. Tell them about your daddy. Tell them the truth. Emma nodded, trying to be brave. Then she wrapped her arms around Bear's neck and whispered, Don't leave. I'm right here, right outside this door. The second you're done, I'm right here. Emma took a deep breath, squeezed Mr. Hoppers, and walked into the grand jury room with Martinez. Bear paced the hallway for 45 minutes. Ghost tried to get him to sit. Diesel offered him coffee. He ignored them both. When the door finally opened, Emma walked out with red eyes, but her head held high. She ran straight to Bear, and he caught her, lifting her into his arms. How'd it go? I told them everything. About the desert. About the scorpions. About Daddy's rabbit. Emma pulled back to look at his face. Did I do good? You did perfect. Martinez came out behind them looking satisfied. The grand jury returned indictments on 14 officials. This is huge, Bear. Emma just changed everything. But Bear wasn't thinking about indictments or justice. He was thinking about the little girl in his arms, who'd just relived the worst day of her life because it was the right thing to do. Let's go home, he said quietly. On the drive back, Emma fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted. Ghost glanced at Bear in the rearview mirror. You know Chen's parents are going to petition for custody now, right now, that the immediate danger's over. Let them try. Bear, they're her grandparents. They're blood. And they're rich, educated, stable. And I'm the one she calls for when she has nightmares. Bear's voice went hard. I'm the one she trusts. I'm the one Chen chose. That has to count for something. I hope you're right. But 2 days later, the petition arrived. Richard and Margaret Chen were suing for full custody of Emma Chen, citing their relationship as grandparents and their ability to provide a stable, traditional home environment. Bear read the legal documents 3 times, feeling his world crack apart. Mama Rose found him on the porch that night holding the papers. You going to fight it? She asked. With everything I've got. Good, because that little girl needs you. What if the court doesn't see it that way? What if they look at me, ex-Marine with PTSD, biker living in a clubhouse, and decide Emma deserves better? Then the court's wrong. Mama Rose sat beside him. Marcus, I've known you 15 years. I've seen you at your worst and your best. And this what you're doing with Emma, this is your best. Don't let some judge tell you otherwise. Bear wanted to believe her, but he'd been in enough courtrooms to know that good intentions didn't always win. The custody hearing was set for 6 weeks out. Bear hired the best lawyer he could afford, a woman named Patricia Valdez, who specialized in complex custody cases. I'll be honest with you, Mr. Williams, she said at their first meeting. This is going to be difficult. The Chens have significant advantages. Wealth, social standing, a traditional family structure. What do I have? Emma's father's explicit wishes, your actions saving and protecting Emma, and if Emma expresses a preference for staying with you that carries weight. She's 6. Does the court care what she wants? More than you'd think. especially at her age, old enough to articulate feelings, young enough that her preferences seemed genuine rather than manipulated. Patricia leaned forward. But Bear, you need to understand something. This case is going to get ugly. The Chen's attorneys will dig into your past, your military service, your motorcycle club. They'll try to paint you as dangerous. I am dangerous. When I need to be. That's not the answer a judge wants to hear. Bear met her eyes. I saved that little girl's life. I've given her a home, stability, love. I've kept every promise I made to her and to her father. If that's not good enough, then the system's broken. Patricia smiled slightly. Hold on to that conviction. You're going to need it. That night, Bear sat Emma down and tried to explain what was happening. Your grandparents want you to live with them. Emma's face went pale. But I live here. I know, and I'm fighting to keep it that way. But there's going to be a court hearing. A judge is going to decide what's best for you. I decide what's best for me. I want to stay here. You might have to tell the judge that. Emma's hands clenched into fists. Then I'll tell him. I'll tell him you're my family and I'm not leaving. Bear pulled her close. Whatever happens, Emma, I need you to know something. I'm not giving up. I'm not walking away. Even if the court says you have to live with your grandparents, I'll still be here. Still be part of your life. You understand? That's not good enough. I want to stay here forever. I know, little bit. I know. The weeks leading up to the hearing were tense. Richard and Margaret visited twice more, and each time Emma was polite but distant. She answered their questions, showed them her schoolwork, but never relaxed the way she did with Bear and the Angels. Margaret noticed. She doesn't trust us, she said to Bear during one visit. She doesn't know you. And whose fault is that? Margaret's voice broke. I lost years with my son because I was too stubborn to apologize. Now I'm losing my granddaughter for the same reason. You're not losing her. You're trying to take her from the only family she has left. We're her family too. Then act like it. Bear kept his voice level. Being family means putting Emma first. Not your guilt. Not your grief. Emma. Margaret stared at him for a long moment. Then she said, You really love her, don't you? More than anything. So do we. Then let her stay where she's happy. Margaret didn't answer. She and Richard left shortly after, and Bear knew the hearing would go forward. The night before the custody hearing, Emma couldn't sleep. Bear found her sitting at the kitchen table at 2 a.m, drawing pictures with crayons. Hey, little bit, what are you doing up? Drawing you a picture, in case I have to leave tomorrow. Bear's heart shattered. Emma. It's okay. I know you'll try your best. But if the judge says I have to go, I want you to have something to remember me by. Bear sat down beside her and looked at the drawing. It showed stick figures, Emma, Bear, Mama Rose, and the Angels, all standing together in front of the clubhouse. This is beautiful. That's our family. Emma pointed at each figure. Even if I have to leave, that doesn't change. Right? Right. Bear pulled her into his lap. Emma, no matter what happens tomorrow, I need you to be brave. Can you do that? I'm scared. Me too. Emma looked up at him surprised. You're scared. Terrified. Because losing you would be the worst thing that ever happened to me. Emma hugged him tight. Don't worry, Bear. I'll tell the judge. I'll make him understand. The next morning, they drove to the courthouse. Emma wore her blue dress and her Hells Angels vest. Bear tried to get her to leave the vest at home, but she refused. This is who I am now. The judge should see that. Patricia met them in the hallway, took one look at Emma's vest and winced, but she didn't say anything. The courtroom was smaller than Bear expected. Judge Catherine Morrison presided, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. Richard and Margaret sat on one side with their attorney, a man in an expensive suit who looked like he ate custody cases for breakfast. Bear sat on the other side with Patricia Emma between them. The hearing started with opening statements. The Chen's attorney painted a picture of traditional family values, stable home environment, educational opportunities. He mentioned Bear's military service, specifically his PTSD diagnosis and his unconventional lifestyle in a motorcycle club. Patricia countered with Michael Chen's explicit wishes, Bear's heroic actions, and Emma's clear attachment to him and the angels. Then the judge called Emma to the stand. Emma walked up slowly. Mr. Hoppers tucked under her arm. The bailiff brought over a booster seat so she could reach the microphone. Judge Morrison smiled gently. "Hello, Emma. My name is Judge Morrison. Do you know why you're here today? Because my grandparents want me to live with them, but I want to stay with Bear." "I see. And why do you want to stay with Bear?" Emma thought about it. "Because he keeps his promises. Because he makes me feel safe. Because he's my family now." "What about your grandparents? Don't you want to know them? I like them. They're nice, but they didn't save me. Bear did. And Daddy wanted me to stay with Bear. That should matter." "It does matter, Emma, very much." Judge Morrison leaned forward. "Can you tell me what a typical day looks like at the clubhouse?" Emma brightened. "Mama Rose makes breakfast. Then I do schoolwork with Ghost, he's really smart. Then I help Diesel in the garage or practice motorcycle safety with Wrench. Bear checks my homework every night and reads me stories. We eat dinner together. Everyone asks about my day." "Do you feel safe there?" "The safest I've ever felt. Even safer than before because now I know bad things can happen and Bear will protect me anyway." "What if I told you that your grandparents could give you your own room, your own toys, opportunities? Bear can't provide." Emma's jaw set. "I already have my own room, and toys, and opportunities. I have a family who loves me. That's better than anything." Judge Morrison studied Emma for a long moment. Then she said, "Thank you, Emma. You can step down." Emma climbed down and went straight to Bear, who lifted her into his arms. The Chen's attorney called Bear next. He tried to make Bear look unstable, dangerous, unfit. Asked about his military service, his nightmares, his motorcycle club connections. Bear answered every question honestly. Yes, he had PTSD. Yes, he'd killed people in combat. Yes, the Hells Angels had a rough reputation. "But Emma doesn't see any of that," Bear said firmly. "She sees a man who keeps his word, who protects her, who loves her. That's what matters." "Mr. Williams, don't you think Emma deserves a traditional family? 2 parents, stability, normalcy." "I think Emma deserves to be with people who put her first, who honor her father's wishes, who earned her trust." Bear met the attorney's eyes. "I'm not perfect, but I'm what Michael Chen wanted for his daughter, and I'm what Emma wants for herself. That should be enough." After 2 hours of testimony, Judge Morrison called a recess. Bear, Emma, and Patricia waited in the hallway. Emma sat on Bear's lap, unnaturally quiet. "How do you think it went?" Bear asked Patricia. "Honestly, I don't know." The judge seemed moved by Emma's testimony, but the Chens have strong arguments too. When they returned to the courtroom, Judge Morrison looked tired. "I've presided over hundreds of custody cases," she began. "Most of them are straightforward. But this case is unique. We have grandparents who love their granddaughter but were absent from her life. And we have a guardian chosen by the child's father who has proven himself capable and devoted." Bear held his breath. Emma Chen has been through unimaginable trauma. She's lost her parents, survived attempted murder, and testified against dangerous criminals. What she needs most is stability and safety. Here it comes, Bear thought. After reviewing all the evidence and testimony, I'm ruling in favor of Marcus Williams retaining full custody of Emma Chen. Bear's world tilted. "However," Judge Morrison continued, "I'm ordering regular visitation with Richard and Margaret Chen. Emma needs her grandparents in her life, and they deserve the chance to build that relationship." Emma threw her arms around Bear's neck and burst into tears. Behind them, Margaret sobbed. Richard held her close, looking devastated but resigned. Judge Morrison wasn't finished. "Mr. Williams, I'm taking a significant risk with this ruling. If I hear of any instability, any danger, any reason to question Emma's well-being, I will revisit this decision. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor, thank you." "Don't thank me. Just be the father Michael Chen believed you could be. Outside the courthouse, Margaret approached Bear while Richard waited by their car. You won, she said quietly. I'm sorry. Margaret shook her head. Don't be. Emma was right. You're her family now. Her voice broke. We're just people who should have been there and weren't. You can still be there. Visitation means you're part of her life. It's not the same as raising her. No, but it's something. Bear shifted Emma to his other arm. Margaret, I'm not trying to replace you or Richard. Emma needs her grandparents. She needs to know where she came from. But right now, she needs stability more than anything. Margaret wiped her eyes. Take care of her, please. With my life. Margaret touched Emma's hair gently. Goodbye, sweetheart. Emma lifted her head from Bear's shoulder. It's not goodbye. You can visit. Judge Morrison said so. We will. I promise. On the drive home, Emma was quiet until they were almost back to the clubhouse. Then she said, Bear, are you my dad now? Like officially. Bear's hands tightened on the steering wheel. If you want me to be. I do, because you're better at it than anyone else could be. Bear pulled over to the side of the road, unable to see through the tears suddenly blurring his vision. Emma leaned forward from the back seat. Why are we stopping? Are you okay? Bear turned to look at her, this small, fierce, beautiful child, who'd chosen him despite having every reason not to trust anyone ever again. Yeah, little bit. I'm okay. I'm better than okay. Good, because Mama Rose is making celebration pancakes, and if we're late, Diesel will eat them all. Bear laughed and pulled back onto the road, driving toward home with his daughter in the back seat, and for the first time in 20 years, he believed in happy endings. Mama Rose's celebration pancakes turned into a full clubhouse party that lasted until midnight. Emma fell asleep on the couch around 10, exhausted from the emotional day, while the angels toasted Bear's victory with beer and stories about the custody hearing that got more exaggerated with each telling. And then Emma looks right at that fancy lawyer and says, I already have a family. Diesel recounted for the third time. Kids got more guts than half the Marines I served with. Bear sat apart from the celebration watching Emma sleep, still processing what the judge had said. Full custody. Emma was his daughter now, legally, permanently. The weight of it settled on his shoulders like armor, heavy but right. Ghost sat down beside him. You okay? Ask me in 10 years when I haven't screwed this up yet. You won't screw it up. You're doing fine. Fine isn't good enough. She deserves exceptional. Then give her exceptional. Ghost clinked his beer against Bear's. But maybe start by believing you're capable of it. 3 months passed in a rhythm that felt almost normal. Emma started second grade at the local elementary school. Bear drove her every morning, walked her to her classroom, and waited outside like the world's most intimidating crossing guard until she was safely inside. The other parents gave him a wide berth at first. Hard to blame them. 6'4" biker covered in leather and scars didn't exactly scream PTA material. But Emma didn't care what anyone thought. That's my dad, she told her teacher on the first day, pointing at Bear with pure pride. He's a Hell's Angel. He saved my life. Her teacher, Mrs. Patricia Alvarez, 60 years old with kind eyes and zero tolerance for nonsense, took one look at Bear and said, then he's welcome here any time. Bear liked her immediately. By October, Emma had 3 best friends, Sophia Jaden and a boy named Marcus, who Emma insisted was named after Bear, even though his parents had probably never met a Hell's Angel in their lives. Emma thrived. Her nightmares decreased from every night to once or twice a week. She laughed more, started drawing pictures that weren't just memories of trauma. Bear kept every single drawing on the refrigerator until there was no room left. Then started a folder in his room labeled Emma's Art that grew thicker by the day. Life felt good, safe, stable. That should have been Bear's first warning. The call came on a Tuesday night in late October. Bear was helping Emma with homework, second grade math that somehow felt harder than anything he'd done in the Marines when his phone rang. Martinez. At 9 p.m. Bear's stomach dropped. I need to take this. Keep working on problem 7. He stepped into the hallway. Martinez, what's wrong? How do you know something's wrong? Because you don't call at 9 p.m. to chat. Martinez sighed. We've got a situation. One of the Scorpions who went to prison, guy named Victor Reyes, just made bail. That's impossible. He was charged with conspiracy to murder federal agents. His lawyer found a technicality. Reyes wasn't at the actual murders, just connected to the organization. Judge granted bail with an ankle monitor. Bear's blood went cold. Victor Reyes is the Scorpion's second in command. He ran their cartel operations. I know. And you're telling me he's out as of 4 hours ago. Bear, I don't think he's a direct threat to Emma. You don't think that's not good enough. But I wanted you to be aware. His bail conditions prohibit contact with anyone connected to the case, including Emma. If he comes anywhere near her, he goes straight back to prison. If he comes anywhere near her, he won't make it back to prison. Bear, don't. I'm not making threats. I'm stating facts. That man was part of the organization that murdered Emma's parents. You expect me to just hope he follows bail conditions? Martinez was quiet for a moment. What do you want me to do? I can't throw him back in prison just because you're worried. Yes, you can. Find another charge. Find something. It doesn't work like that. Then make it work like that. Bear's voice went hard. Because if something happens to Emma, because you let that man walk, I will never forgive you. He hung up before Martinez could respond. Back in the kitchen, Emma looked up from her homework. Who was that? Just Martinez checking in. Is everything okay? Bear forced a smile. Everything's fine, little bit. How's problem 7 coming? Emma showed him her work, but Bear barely saw it. His mind was calculating threats, strategies, contingencies. Victor Reyes was out. That changed everything. After Emma went to bed, Bear called an emergency meeting in the chapel. All 6 angels showed up within 20 minutes: Diesel, Ghost Wrench, Hammer Crow, and Sly. They knew Bear's tone well enough to know this wasn't optional. Victor Reyes made bail. The room erupted. That's bullshit. How is that even possible? We need to... Bear held up a hand for silence. I know, but it is what it is. Martinez says his bail conditions keep him away from Emma, but I'm not trusting paperwork to keep my daughter safe. What do you want to do? Diesel asked. Full security protocol. Ghost, I want surveillance, expanded cameras on every approach to the clubhouse and Emma's school. Diesel Wrench, you're on rotating guard duty. Someone's watching Emma every second she's not with me. What about school? Crow asked. We can't exactly stand guard in a second-grade classroom. No, but I can sit in the parking lot all day. And I will. Mama Rose spoke from the doorway. Bear hadn't noticed her arrive. Marcus, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Better crazy than careless. Reyes is one man. You're treating this like an invasion. One man is all it takes. Bear met her eyes. I won't lose her, Rose. I can't. Mama Rose softened. Then we do this smart, not paranoid. Emma's already been through enough. Don't make her live in fear again. Bear knew she was right. But knowing and accepting were different things. For 2 weeks, Bear maintained the security protocols without telling Emma why. She noticed the changes, Ghost suddenly taking her to school some mornings, Diesel or Wrench always nearby when she played outside, Bear more tense than usual. But she didn't ask questions. Maybe she didn't want to know. Then on a Friday afternoon, everything went wrong. Emma's school called at 2:45 p.m. Bear was in the garage working on his Harley when his phone rang. Mr. Williams, this is Principal Davidson. There's been an incident. Bear's heart stopped. What kind of incident? Is Emma hurt? Emma's fine, but there was a man outside the school fence during recess. He was watching the children. When a teacher approached, he left quickly. Emma identified him as someone she recognized. From where? She said he was one of the Scorpions. Bear was on his bike in 30 seconds. He made the 15-minute drive in 8, breaking every traffic law in Arizona. His phone rang twice. Martinez probably, but he ignored it. The school was on lockdown when he arrived. Police cars in the parking lot. Parents clustered by the entrance, worried and confused. Bear pushed through them, heading straight for the office. A uniformed officer tried to stop him. Sir, I need you to... That's my daughter in there, move. Something in Bear's voice made the officer step aside. Inside, Bear found Emma sitting in the principal's office with Mrs. Alvarez and Martinez, who must have broken traffic laws too to get here so fast. Emma saw Bear and ran to him. He caught her, lifted her, held her so tight, she squeaked. "I'm okay," she said into his shoulder. "I promise I'm okay." Bear pulled back to look at her face. No tears, no visible fear. Just Emma being brave again when she shouldn't have to be. "Tell me what happened." "We were at recess. I was playing with Sophia on the swings, and I saw him watching us through the fence." "Who?" "The man from the desert. Not the leader with the tattoo, he's dead, but one of the others. He was there when they killed Mommy and Daddy." Bear's vision went red around the edges. Martinez stepped forward. "Bear, we've got units searching the area. We'll find him. You said Reyes couldn't come near her." "This wasn't Reyes. Emma said it was someone else." "So there are multiple scorpions walking around. How many of them made bail?" Martinez didn't answer, which was answer enough. Bear set Emma down gently and turned to Martinez, keeping his voice low so Emma wouldn't hear. "Get me names. Every scorpion who's out of prison. Every single one. I can't just—" "Yes, you can, because if I have to track them down myself, I won't be asking politely." Martinez met his eyes, saw something there that made her nod. "I'll get you the names, but Bear, you can't—" "Can't? What? Protect my daughter, watch me." He took Emma's hand. "Come on, little bit. We're going home." "What about school?" "You're done with school for today." In the parking lot, Emma stopped walking. "Bear, I can't miss school every time something scary happens. This isn't negotiable. But Mrs. Alvarez said we're learning about the solar system next week. I don't want to miss it." Bear knelt down to her level. "Emma, a dangerous man was watching you today. That's not something we ignore." "I know. But Daddy wouldn't want me to stop living because of bad people." Emma's voice was steady, older than 7 years old should sound. "He'd want me to be careful but brave, right?" Bear's throat tightened. She was right, and he hated it. "Okay, you can go to school, but I'm driving you every day, and I'm staying in the parking lot until you're done. That's going to be really boring for you." "I don't care." Emma hugged him. "Thank you for keeping me safe." "Always, little bit. Always." That night, Martinez sent over the list. 7 scorpions had made bail or been released on technicalities. 7 men who'd been part of the organization that murdered Michael and Sarah Chen. Bear studied each name, each face, memorizing them. Ghost was already running background checks. 3 of them are still in Arizona. The others scattered California, Nevada, Texas. The 3 in Arizona, where are they? Ghost pulled up addresses. 2 in Phoenix, 1 in Tucson. And the one Emma saw today matches the description of Carlos Mendez, low-level enforcer. Did time for assault, got out 6 weeks ago on parole. Bear's jaw clenched. Find him. Bear, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, I'm not thinking anything. I just want to know where he is. Ghost didn't look convinced, but he didn't argue. By midnight, he had an address. Carlos Mendez was staying at a motel in Phoenix, 40 miles from Emma's school. Bear grabbed his jacket. "Where are you going?" Diesel asked. "For a ride. At midnight. I need to clear my head." Diesel stood. "Then I'm coming with you." "No. Brother, whatever you're planning." "I'm not planning anything. I'm going for a ride, alone." Bear left before anyone could follow. The motel was a dump on the outskirts of Phoenix. Cracked parking lot, flickering neon sign, the kind of place people stayed when they didn't want to be found. Carlos Mendez's bike was parked outside room 117. Bear sat on his Harley across the street for 20 minutes, watching the window, thinking about Emma's face when she'd said, "He was there when they killed Mommy and Daddy." This man had stood by while a 6-year-old watched her parents die. This man had left Emma in the desert to die. And now this man was watching her at school. Bear's hands clenched on his handlebars. He could end this right now. One visit. One conversation. Make it clear that coming near Emma again would be the last mistake Carlos Mendez ever made. But then Bear remembered the custody hearing. Judge Morrison's warning. If I hear of any instability, any danger, any reason to question Emma's well-being, I will revisit this decision. If Bear went into that motel room, he wouldn't come out the same man, and Emma would pay the price. Bear started his engine and drove home. When he walked into the clubhouse at 2 a.m., Mama Rose was waiting in the kitchen with coffee. "You went to see him." "I thought about it." "But you came back." "Emma needs me more than I need revenge." Mama Rose poured him coffee. "That's the first smart thing you've said all day." "It doesn't feel smart. It feels like letting him get away with it." "He's not getting away with anything. Martinez will handle it through proper channels." "And what if proper channels don't work? What if he tries again?" "Then you deal with it. But not by throwing away everything you've built." Mama Rose squeezed his shoulder. "Emma needs a father, not a martyr." Bear drank his coffee in silence, knowing she was right, hating that she was right. The next morning, Martinez called with news. Carlos Mendez was picked up an hour ago for violating parole. He's back in custody. What was the violation? He was spotted near a school. That's prohibited for anyone with his record. He won't make bail this time. Bear felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. What about the others? The 6 still out. "I'm working on it, but Bear, you need to be patient." Patient gets people killed. Reckless gets Emma taken away. Choose your battles. After Martinez hung up, Bear sat with his coffee and thought about battles. He'd fought in Afghanistan and Iraq. He'd survived firefights and IEDs and missions that should have killed him. He'd learned to calculate risk, to choose when to engage and when to withdraw. But this was different. This wasn't about his survival. It was about Emma's safety. And Bear didn't know how to be patient when his daughter's life was the stakes. 2 weeks passed without incident. Emma went back to school. Bear sat in the parking lot every day from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. reading books and watching the fence line like a hawk. Other parents started to recognize him. A few even said hello. One mother, Sophia's mom, whose name was Elena, brought him coffee one morning. "You're Emma's dad, right?" "Yeah." "Sophia talks about her all the time. Says Emma's the bravest kid in class." Bear didn't know what to say to that. Elena smiled. "My husband's a cop. He told me what happened to Emma's parents. What she survived. That's..." Her voice caught. "That's extraordinary. And so is what you're doing sitting out here every day. Just keeping her safe. It's more than that. It's showing up. Being present. Most dads can't even make it to parent-teacher conferences." Elena handed him the coffee. "Emma's lucky to have you." After she left, Bear sat with those words. Emma's lucky to have you. He'd never thought of it that way. Always figured Emma deserved better than a broken Marine with PTSD and a motorcycle club for a family. But maybe lucky wasn't about perfect. Maybe lucky was about showing up, being present, keeping promises. Maybe that was enough. That afternoon, when Bear picked Emma up, she was practically bouncing with excitement. "Bear, guess what?" "What?" "Mrs. Alvarez asked if you could come to Career Day next month. She wants you to talk about being a Marine." Bear's first instinct was to say no. Standing in front of a classroom full of 7-year-olds, talking about his military service, sounded like a nightmare. But Emma was looking at him with so much hope. "You want me to do that?" "Yes. I told everyone my dad was a hero, and now they can hear about it." "My dad." She'd said it so naturally, like it was just a fact. "Okay," Bear said. "I'll do it." Emma threw her arms around him right there in the school parking lot, and Bear decided that maybe facing a room full of second graders wasn't the worst thing in the world. That night, Emma had another nightmare. Bear heard her crying and went to her room, finding her tangled in blankets and calling for her mother. "Emma, wake up. You're dreaming." Emma's eyes opened, wild and disoriented. "Mommy, I'm here. It's Bear. You're safe." Emma's face crumpled. "I dreamed Mommy was calling for me, but I couldn't find her. I kept running and running, but she was gone." Bear gathered her into his arms. "I know, little bit. I know. Why do I still dream about her? It's been almost a year. Shouldn't it stop? Grief doesn't work like that. Sometimes it hits you when you least expect it. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Do you think Mommy and Daddy know that I'm okay now that you're taking care of me?" Bear's throat closed up. "Yeah, I think they know." "Do you think they're mad? I'm happy sometimes, like I'm forgetting them." "No, sweetheart. They're not mad. Parents want their kids to be happy. That's all they ever want." Emma leaned against his chest. "I miss them. I know. But I'm glad I have you." "I'm glad I have you too." Bear stayed with Emma until she fell back asleep, then sat in her room for another hour, making sure the nightmares didn't come back. 3 days before Thanksgiving, Richard and Margaret Chen called. "We'd like to have Emma for the holiday," Richard said, "if that's acceptable." Bear's first instinct was to say no, but the custody agreement gave them visitation rights, and Thanksgiving fell within that window. "Let me talk to Emma." He found her in the living room doing homework with Ghost's help. "Emma, your grandparents want you to spend Thanksgiving with them." Emma looked up surprised. "In San Francisco?" "Yeah. But what about Thanksgiving here? Mama Rose always makes turkey." "She can make turkey when you get back." Emma thought about it. "Do I have to go?" "No, but they're your family. They want to spend time with you." "You're my family too. Can you come?" Bear hadn't considered that possibility. "I don't think they invited me, little bit." "Then I'll ask them." Emma grabbed Bear's phone before he could stop her and hit redial. "Grandpa, it's Emma." "Yeah, I got Bear's message. I can come for Thanksgiving, but only if Bear comes too. Because he's my dad now and families spend holidays together." "Okay. Yeah. Okay, bye." She handed the phone back to Bear. They said yes. Bear stared at her. "You just fixed it." "Yeah. You're welcome." Ghost tried unsuccessfully to hide his smile. So Thanksgiving found Bear, Emma, and Mama Rose, who Emma had also insisted on including driving to San Francisco in Bear's truck. The Chens lived in a house that cost more than Bear would make in 10 lifetimes. Victorian architecture bay views a garden that looked professionally maintained. Margaret answered the door, clearly nervous. "Welcome. Please come in." Inside the house was elegant and cold, beautiful but sterile. Nothing like the warmth of the clubhouse. Emma looked around with wide eyes. "This is where Daddy grew up." "Yes," Margaret said softly. "His room is still here. Would you like to see it?" Emma nodded and Margaret led her upstairs. Bear and Mama Rose were left with Richard in the living room making awkward small talk about traffic and weather. Then Richard said, "I owe you an apology, Mr. Williams." Bear looked up surprised. "When we first met, I thought—" Richard paused, choosing words carefully. "I thought you were the wrong choice for Emma. I thought she needed structure education opportunities we could provide. I didn't understand what she actually needed." "What's that?" "You. She needed exactly you." Richard's voice roughened. "My son knew that. He saw something I missed, and I'm sorry I didn't trust his judgment." Bear didn't know what to say. Margaret came back downstairs with Emma, who was clutching a photo album. "Look, these are pictures of Daddy when he was little." Emma showed Bear photos of a young Michael Chen smiling, playing baseball, graduating high school. Bear studied each photo, seeing Emma's features in her father's face. "He looks like you," Bear said. "Grandma says I have his eyes." "You do." That night they had Thanksgiving dinner at a table that could seat 12. The food was perfect, professionally prepared, probably expensive. But halfway through the meal, Emma said, "Grandma, can we say grace? We always say grace at home." Margaret looked flustered. "Oh, of course. Would you like to?" "Bear always does it." Everyone looked at Bear. He cleared his throat, feeling wildly out of place. Okay, let's..." He took Emma's hand on one side, Mama Rose's on the other. "Let's just be grateful. For family. For second chances. For people who show up when it matters. And for Emma, who reminds us every day what courage looks like." Emma squeezed his hand. "Amen." Amen, the others echoed. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Bear her father's room. It was frozen in time, high school trophies, college pennants, photos of a young man who'd grown up with every advantage and chosen to serve anyway. Daddy was brave, Emma said, looking at a photo of Michael in his DEA uniform. Yeah, he was. Do you think I'll be brave like him when I grow up? You're already brave like him. Braver, maybe. Emma smiled and hugged him. Thanks for coming, Bear. I know this is weird for you. Weird doesn't matter. You matter. They left San Francisco the next morning. As they drove away, Emma waved to her grandparents standing on the porch. That was nice, she said. But I'm glad we're going home. Bear glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Me too, little bit. Me too. Back at the clubhouse, the angels had decorated for Emma's return, welcome home banner balloons, Mama Rose's famous turkey waiting. Emma ran inside, squealing with delight. Diesel came up beside Bear. She good? Yeah, she's good. And you? Bear watched Emma laughing with Ghost and Wrench, completely at home, completely safe. I'm getting there. December hit Arizona with unexpected cold. Emma turned 8 years old on a Tuesday, and the angels threw her a party that looked more like a biker rally than a kid's birthday. 15 motorcycles lined up outside the clubhouse, their riders bearing gifts wrapped in newspaper and duct tape, because bikers didn't do fancy wrapping paper. Emma loved every second of it. Make a wish, little bit, Bear said as she leaned over her cake chocolate with strawberry frosting made from scratch by Mama Rose. Emma closed her eyes, thought hard, and blew out all 8 candles in one breath. What did you wish for? Wrench asked. Can't tell. Then it won't come true. But later that night, when Bear tucked her into bed, Emma whispered it anyway. I wish that nothing bad would ever happen again, that we could just be happy forever. Bear's chest tightened. That's a good wish. Do you think it'll come true? I think we're going to do everything we can to make it come true. Emma smiled and drifted off to sleep, and Bear sat there wishing he could promise her a world without bad things. But he'd been alive long enough to know that wasn't how life worked. The call came 3 days later. Bear was at Emma's school for career day, standing in front of 23 second graders who were staring at him like he was a superhero. Mrs. Alvarez had introduced him as Emma's father, who served our country as a United States Marine. Emma sat in the front row beaming with pride. So, Mr. Williams, Mrs. Alvarez prompted, can you tell the children what Marines do? Bear looked at the sea of young faces and tried to find words that wouldn't give them nightmares. Marines protect people. We go places that are dangerous so that people at home can be safe. We're trained to be strong, brave, and loyal to each other. A boy named Tyler raised his hand. Did you ever fight bad guys? Yeah, I did. Did you win? Most of the time. Were you scared? Bear thought about Kandahar, Fallujah, the missions that still woke him up at night. Yeah, I was scared. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you are scared. Emma's hand shot up. My dad saved my life when bad guys tried to hurt me. That's being brave. The other kids looked at Bear with even wider eyes. Emma's right, Bear said. Sometimes being brave means protecting people you love. That's the most important job anyone can have. He'd just finished answering questions about what Marines ate for breakfast when his phone buzzed in his pocket. Martinez. 3 times in a row. Something was wrong. Mrs. Alvarez, I need to take this. Excuse me. He stepped into the hallway. Martinez, what? Bear. We have a situation. Victor Reyes escaped custody during a prison transfer this morning. The world tilted. What do you mean, escaped? The transfer van was ambushed. 2 guards dead. Reyes and 3 other prisoners are in the wind. Bear's hand clenched around the phone so hard it cracked. And you're just telling me now? It happened 4 hours ago. We've been searching. 4 hours. He could be anywhere by now. He could be... Bear couldn't finish the sentence. We have every unit looking for him. FBI's involved. We'll find him. Before or after he comes for Emma? Martinez didn't answer. Bear hung up and walked back into the classroom on autopilot. Emma was showing her classmates a drawing she'd made of Bear on his motorcycle. "Emma, we need to go." Emma looked up, read his expression, and her smile faded. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, I just remembered we have an appointment." Mrs. Alvarez frowned. "Mr. Williams is everything. We need to go, now." Emma grabbed her backpack without arguing. She'd learned to trust Bear's tone. In the truck, Emma put on her seatbelt and asked quietly, "It's the bad men, isn't it?" Bear gripped the steering wheel. "One of them escaped prison." Emma's face went pale. "Which one?" "Victor Reyes. He wasn't at the desert that day, but he was second in command. He helped plan everything." "Is he coming for me?" "I don't know, but we're not taking chances." Bear drove straight to the clubhouse, called an emergency meeting before they even got out of the truck. By the time he carried Emma inside, all 6 angels were waiting. "Full lockdown," Bear said. "Victor Reyes is out. Ghost. I want every security system active. Diesel wrench arm up. Hammer crow sly. No one gets within a mile of this place without us knowing about it." "What about school?" Emma asked. "You're not going to school until Reyes is caught." "But Bear..." "This isn't negotiable, Emma. Your safety comes first." Emma's jaw set in that stubborn way that reminded Bear of himself. "Daddy wouldn't want me to hide." "Your daddy isn't here to protect you. I am. And I say you stay here where it's safe." "For how long?" "As long as it takes." Emma looked like she wanted to argue more, but Mama Rose stepped in. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's make cookies. We'll let the men handle the security talk." After they left, Diesel voiced what everyone was thinking. If Reyes broke out, he did it for a reason. And that reason is probably in the other room eating cookie dough. "I know." "So what's the play?" Ghost asked. "We keep Emma here. We keep her safe. And if Reyes shows up," Bear's voice went cold, "we make sure he doesn't leave." For 3 days, they maintained the lockdown. Emma handled it better than Bear expected. She did her schoolwork with Ghost teaching. Her math helped Mama Rose cook meals for the whole club, even convinced Wrench to teach her basic motorcycle maintenance. But on the 4th day, she snapped. Bear found her in her room throwing books against the wall. "Emma, what? I'm tired of being trapped. I'm tired of bad men making me hide. I'm tired of being scared all the time." She threw another book. "Why won't they just leave me alone?" Bear caught her hands gently. Hey, look at me." Emma's eyes were full of tears and rage. "It's not fair." "No, it's not. I just want to be normal. I want to go to school and play with my friends and not worry about bad men coming to kill me." Bear pulled her into his arms. "I know, little bit, I know." Emma sobbed against his chest. "I hate them. I hate all of them." "That's okay. You're allowed to hate them." "Will it ever stop? Will I ever feel safe again?" Bear wanted to promise her yes, wanted to guarantee that one day this would all be over and she could live without fear. But he'd made enough promises. He wasn't making ones he couldn't keep. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But I know I'm going to do everything I can to make it stop. And until then, you've got me. You've got all of us. You're not alone in this." Emma cried for a long time. When she finally exhausted herself, she whispered, "I'm sorry I threw books." "It's okay. Books are replaceable. You're not." That night, Martinez called with an update that wasn't really an update. "Still no sign of Reyes. He's either left the state or gone deep underground." "What about the other prisoners who escaped with him?" "We caught 2. One's still missing along with Reyes." Bear paced the porch. "So we're supposed to just wait. Keep Emma locked up indefinitely." "I don't have a better option, unless..." Martinez paused. "Unless what?" "Unless we use Emma as bait." Bear's blood went cold. "Absolutely not. Hear me out. We control the environment. Set up a situation where Reyes thinks he can get to her, but we're ready. Trap him. You want to use an 8-year-old as bait to catch a killer. I want to end this so Emma can have a normal life. Right now she's living in fear. This could give her freedom. Or it could get her killed. Not if we do it right. Bear, I wouldn't suggest this if I thought there was real danger. We'd have 20 agents on site. Full tactical support. The second Reyes shows up, we take him down. Bear wanted to say no, wanted to tell Martinez to go to hell, but Emma's words echoed in his head. Will I ever feel safe again? I need to think about it. Don't think too long. Every day Reyes is out there, he's planning. And when he moves, we might not be ready. Bear hung up and sat on the porch steps, head in his hands. Mama Rose found him there an hour later. You're thinking about Martinez's plan. How'd you know? Because you've got that look. The one that says you're considering something dangerous and stupid. It's not stupid. It's strategic. It's using a child as bait. It's giving Emma her life back. Bear looked up at Mama Rose. She's 8 years old. She should be in school playing with friends, being a kid. Instead, she's trapped here because I'm too afraid to let her out of my sight. Fear keeps her alive. Fear is also killing who she could be. Bear's voice broke. I don't want her to grow up like I did, always looking over her shoulder, never trusting anyone, never feeling safe. Mama Rose sat beside him. What does Emma want? She's 8. She doesn't get to decide. Maybe she should. Bear thought about that. Then he went inside and found Emma in the kitchen making sandwiches with Diesel's help. Emma, can we talk? Emma set down the peanut butter. Am I in trouble? No, I just need to ask you something important. They sat at the kitchen table, just the two of them. Martinez has an idea for catching Victor Reyes, but it involves you. Emma's eyes went wide. Me? She wants to set up a situation where Reyes thinks he can get to you, but it would be a trap. There would be FBI agents everywhere. You'd be safe. You mean, use me as bait? Bear blinked. Yes. That's exactly what it means. How do you know that word? I read a lot. Ghost gives me books. Emma thought about it. Would it make him get caught? Probably. And then, would I be safe? Really safe? Yeah, then you'd be safe. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I want to do it. Emma. Bear, I can't live like this forever. Hiding. Being scared. I want to go back to school. I want to see Sophia and Jaden and Marcus. I want to be normal. Her eyes met his. You said being brave means doing the right thing even when you're scared. This is the right thing. Bear's heart broke and swelled at the same time. You're 8 years old. You shouldn't have to be this brave. But I am, because you taught me how. 2 days later, Bear found himself standing in an FBI command center looking at tactical maps and feeling like he was back in Afghanistan. Martinez laid out the plan. We'll stage a medical appointment for Emma at Phoenix Children's Hospital. We'll leak the information through channels we know are compromised. If Reyes is watching, and we think he is, he'll take the bait. How do you know the channels are compromised? Bear asked. Because we've been feeding different information through different sources. Only one of those sources has resulted in suspicious activity. We know where the leak is. And if Reyes doesn't show, then we try something else. But Bear, we've profiled this guy. He's arrogant. He thinks he's smarter than us. He'll come. Bear looked at the hospital layout. Multiple entry points. Hundreds of people. Too many variables. I don't like this. You don't have to like it. You just have to trust us. I trust you. I don't trust anyone else. Martinez met his eyes. Then trust Emma. She chose this. The appointment was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. Emma handled the preparation better than Bear did. She asked questions about what would happen where the agents would be, what she should do if something went wrong. Nothing will go wrong, Martinez assured her. But if it does, then Mr. Williams and about 30 armed federal agents will make sure you're okay. Emma seemed satisfied with that answer. Bear wasn't satisfied with anything. The night before the operation, Emma couldn't sleep. Bear heard her moving around at midnight and found her sitting at the kitchen table drawing. What are you working on? Emma showed him. It was a picture of the clubhouse with all the angels standing in front, Bear in the center with Emma beside him. In case something happens tomorrow, I want you to have this, so you remember. Bear's throat closed. Nothing's going to happen. You don't know that. Emma. Bear, it's okay. I'm not scared. Emma set down her crayon. Daddy died protecting people. If something happens to me while I'm trying to stop bad men from hurting other people, that's okay. That's what heroes do. You're 8 years old. You don't need to be a hero. Maybe, but I am anyway. Bear pulled her into his lap and held her tight. You're the bravest person I've ever met. I learned from the best. They sat there in the quiet kitchen, and Bear memorized everything: the weight of Emma in his arms, the sound of her breathing, the trust she placed in him, despite every reason not to trust anyone. If something went wrong tomorrow, if he lost her, no. He wouldn't think like that. Martinez's plan was solid. The FBI knew what they were doing. Emma would be safe. She had to be. Thursday morning arrived too fast. Emma got dressed in regular clothes, jeans, a t-shirt, her Hell's Angels vest that she refused to leave behind. It's who I am, she said when Bear suggested leaving it at home. If bad things happen, I want to be wearing it. They drove to Phoenix with a full FBI escort, 3 unmarked cars, 12 agents, enough firepower to start a small war. Emma sat in the back seat, clutching Mr. Hoppers, watching the desert pass by. Bear, yeah, little bit. If Reyes doesn't come today, that's okay. We tried. That's what matters. He'll come. How do you know? Because he's like every other coward I've met. He thinks killing you will make him powerful. He's wrong, but he doesn't know that yet. Emma thought about that. What makes someone powerful? Love, courage, showing up when things are hard. Bear met her eyes in the rearview mirror. You're more powerful than Reyes will ever be. They arrived at Phoenix Children's Hospital at 1:30. FBI agents were positioned everywhere: parking lot, lobby, hallways, rooftop. 28 agents total, all wearing civilian clothes, all armed, all focused on keeping Emma safe. Martinez met them at the entrance. We're ready. The appointment is in pediatric oncology, 3rd floor. We've cleared the wing. The only people up there are agents. What about actual patients? Emma asked. Move to other floors for today. Don't worry, everyone's getting the care they need. They took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Emma held Bear's hand the entire time. In the examination room, Martinez explained the final details. You'll sit here like you're waiting for the doctor. Bear will be with you. Agents are in every adjacent room. If Reyes shows, we move immediately. What do I do? Nothing. Just stay with Bear. We handle everything else. They waited. 2 p.m. came and went. Then 2:30. 3 p.m. Emma sat on the examination table, swinging her legs, trying to look calm. Bear stood beside her, every muscle coiled like a spring. At 3:15, Martinez's radio crackled. We've got movement. Male, late 30s, Reyes's build, entering through the north stairwell. Bear's hand went to Emma's shoulder. Second male with him, armed. They're coming up. Martinez pulled her weapon. All units stand by. Emma's hand found Bear's. It's okay. We planned for this. The door to the examination room opened, but it wasn't Victor Reyes. It was a nurse, young, scared, with a gun pressed to her back, and Victor Reyes behind her. Nobody move, Reyes said calmly, or the nurse dies. Bear stepped in front of Emma. Reyes smiled. There she is, the little girl who destroyed everything. You know how many of my people are in prison because of you. They're in prison because they're criminals, Emma said, her voice surprisingly steady. Smart mouth, just like your daddy. Reyes pushed the nurse aside and raised his gun, pointing it at Emma. This ends now. Everything happened in seconds. Bear dove at Reyes. Martinez fired. The second man appeared in the doorway and 3 FBI agents tackled him. Emma dropped to the floor like they'd practiced covering her head. Bear got his hands on Reyes's gun, twisted it away, and smashed the man's face into the wall. Once, twice, 3 times, until Reyes stopped fighting. Martinez called, "Clear suspect down. We need medical." Bear turned to Emma, who was still on the floor, still covering her head, still breathing. Emma, look at me." Emma lifted her head. "Is it over?" "Yeah, it's over." Emma stood up slowly, looked at Victor Reyes bleeding on the floor and said, "Good." Then she threw up. Bear caught her, held her while she shook. "I'm okay," Emma said. "I'm okay, It's okay. You're allowed to fall apart a little." Martinez secured Reyes with handcuffs. The second man was already in custody. The nurse was shaken but unharmed. "How did he know?" Bear asked Martinez. "This was supposed to be controlled." "He had someone inside. We're working on finding out who." Martinez looked at Emma. "But he's not getting away this time. Attempted murder of a federal witness. He's done." They took Emma to a real examination room where a real doctor checked her for shock. "She's handling it remarkably well," the doctor said. "Most adults would be catatonic after something like that." "She's not most people," Bear said. After the doctor cleared her, they drove back to the clubhouse in silence. Emma fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted. Mama Rose was waiting on the porch when they arrived. "Is she okay?" "She's alive. That's enough for now." Bear carried Emma to her room, tucked her in, and sat beside her bed like he'd done 100 times before. Emma stirred, opened her eyes. "Bear. Right here. Did we win?" "Yeah, a little bit. We won." Emma smiled and closed her eyes again. "Good. I'm tired of fighting." "Me too." But even as Bear said it, he knew the fighting wasn't really over. It never was. There would always be another threat, another danger, another battle. The difference now was that Emma had a family who would fight those battles with her. And that made all the difference. The next morning, Martinez called with the news Bear had been waiting for. Victor Reyes is being charged with attempted murder, kidnapping, assault on federal officers, and about 15 other charges. He's not making bail this time. He's done. "What about the inside man? FBI's handling it. Turns out it was a clerical worker who owed money to Reyes's cartel connections. He's been arrested." Bear let out a breath he'd been holding for months. "So it's really over." "This part is. The trials will take time, but Emma's safe. The threat's neutralized." After hanging up, Bear found Emma in the kitchen eating cereal with Ghost. "Was that Martinez?" Emma asked. "Yeah. Reyes is going away for a long time. You're safe now." Emma nodded slowly, processing. "Does that mean I can go back to school?" "If you want to." "I want to." Emma set down her spoon. "I want to see my friends. I want to learn about the solar system. I want to be normal." "You'll never be normal, little bit. You're extraordinary." Emma grinned. "I learned from the best." 2 weeks later, Emma returned to school. Bear dropped her off at the entrance and Emma paused before getting out of the truck. "You're not staying in the parking lot all day, right?" "Not planning on it. Why?" "Because I'm okay now. You don't have to watch over me every second." "Emma." "Bear, I trust you. But you need to trust me too. Trust that I can handle being a regular kid for a few hours." Bear realized she was right. Somewhere along the way, Emma had grown stronger than his fear. "Okay. I'll pick you up at 3. Emma hugged him. "Thanks, Dad." She'd said it before, but never that casually. Never like it was just a fact. Bear watched her run into school, joining Sophia and Jaden at the entrance, laughing about something he couldn't hear. And for the first time since the desert, since the gunshots, since Michael Chen's letter, Bear believed that everything might actually be okay. That night, Bear couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. He'd learned to trust his instincts in Afghanistan, that crawling sensation at the base of his skull that meant danger was close. He felt it now sitting on the porch at midnight, watching shadows move in the desert wind. "You're doing it again," Mama Rose said from the doorway. "Doing what?" "Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Emma's safe. Reyes is locked up. The threat's over." "Is it?" Bear didn't look away from the darkness. "Reyes worked for a cartel. Cartels don't forget. They also don't waste resources on revenge against one child. It's bad business. Maybe. Or maybe they're just being patient." Mama Rose sat beside him. "Marcus, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And worse, you're going to teach Emma that safety is an illusion. Safety is an illusion. Then so is happiness. So is love. So is everything worth living for? Mama Rose's voice softened. That little girl has spent a year learning to trust the world again. Don't undo that work because you're afraid. Bear knew she was right, but knowing and feeling were different things. 3 months passed, in a rhythm that almost felt normal. Emma finished second grade at the top of her class. Mrs. Alvarez called Bear in for a parent-teacher conference and showed him Emma's test scores, her writing assignments, her drawings. Emma is exceptional, Mrs. Alvarez said, not just academically, emotionally. She has a depth that most adults don't have. That's what trauma does, Bear said quietly. No, trauma breaks people. What Emma has is resilience. That came from somewhere else. Mrs. Alvarez met his eyes. That came from you. Bear didn't know what to say to that. Summer arrived, and with it, Emma's request to learn to ride a motorcycle. Absolutely not, Bear said immediately. Why not? Because you're 8. You rode motorcycles when you were 8. That was different. How? Bear searched for an answer that wasn't because I said so and came up empty. It's dangerous. So was stopping Victor Reyes, but you let me do that. Mama Rose snorted coffee across the kitchen table. Emma, I'm not saying I want to ride on highways, just around the clubhouse, with you teaching me. Please. Bear looked at her hopeful face and felt his resolve cracking. We'll start with a dirt bike. Small one. You wear full gear, and if you don't listen to every instruction perfectly, we stop immediately. Emma threw her arms around him. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Teaching Emma to ride became Bear's favorite part of summer. She was a natural, fearless, but careful, aggressive, but controlled. She listened to every instruction, practiced every technique, and never complained when she fell. You've got good instincts, Bear told her after she successfully completed her first solo lap around the property. I learned from watching you. I'm not that good. Emma pulled off her helmet, grinning. Yes, you are. You're the best rider I know. Ghost walked over, shaking his head in amazement. She's got better control than Diesel, and he's been riding 20 years. Don't let Diesel hear you say that, Bear warned. Too late. Diesel appeared from the garage. Better than me, the kid's been riding for 2 weeks. Want a racer? Ghost challenged. Against an 8-year-old. That's not fair. Emma revved her engine. Scared Diesel. The angels gathered to watch Emma and Diesel race around the property. 3 laps dirt bike course winner gets bragging rights. Emma won by half a bike length. Diesel climbed off his bike, pulled Emma into a headlock, and ruffled her hair. You're getting too good at this, kid. Told you I learned from the best, Emma said, grinning at Bear. That night, the angels celebrated with a barbecue. Emma sat between Bear and Mama Rose, eating hot dogs and listening to the men tell stories about their riding adventures. Bear ever tell you about the time he outran 5 cops on Highway 60? Wrench asked Emma. Wrench don't, Bear started. He was doing 90 on a straightaway when a state trooper lit him up. But instead of pulling over, I was young and stupid, Bear interrupted. Don't do what I did, Emma laughed. Did you get caught? Eventually. Spent a night in jail. Got a lecture from the judge that I still remember 20 years later. What'd he say? He said, son, you've got 2 choices. You can keep running from consequences, or you can face them like a man. But you can't do both forever. Bear met Emma's eyes. Best advice I ever got. Emma thought about that. Is that why you stopped running? Part of it. The other part was finding people worth staying for. Like the angels. Like family. August brought Emma's 9th birthday and a surprise visitor. Bear opened the door to find Agent Sarah Chen standing on the porch. No relation to Michael. Just coincidental last name, holding a briefcase and looking official. Mr. Williams, I'm with the FBI's Victim Services Division. May I come in? Bear's guard went up immediately. What's this about? It's about Emma and her father's legacy. Inside, Sarah Chen explained why she'd come. Michael Chen's case resulted in the conviction of 47 individuals, cartel members, corrupt officials, traffickers. The evidence he gathered and Emma's testimony were instrumental. The FBI wants to recognize that contribution. Emma doesn't need recognition. She needs to be left alone. I understand, but there's more. Michael Chen had a life insurance policy through the DEA. Emma is the beneficiary. The payout combined with the Federal Witness Protection Compensation Fund comes to approximately $2.3 million. Bear's world tilted. What? The money is being held in trust for Emma until she turns 18. But the trustees need you to sign custody acknowledgement forms and set up the account structure. I don't want cartel money. It's not cartel money. It's government compensation for what Emma endured. It's meant to give her opportunities, education, security, a future. Bear called Emma into the room. She'd been listening from the kitchen anyway. Emma, this woman is from the FBI. She says your dad left you money. Emma looked at Sarah Chen. How much? Enough to pay for college, buy a house someday, live comfortably. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Can I use it to help other kids? Kids whose parents died like mine did?" Sarah Chen smiled. "When you turn 18, you can use it however you want." After Sarah Chen left, Emma sat on the couch with Bear processing the information. "I don't want money," Emma said quietly. "I want my parents back. I know little bit. But if I can't have them back, maybe I can help other kids not feel so alone, like I did before you found me." Bear pulled her close. "You're going to do amazing things when you grow up." "I'm already doing amazing things. You said so yourself." That September, Emma started 3rd grade with a new teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, young and enthusiastic, with a gift for making history come alive. Emma loved his class immediately. "Did you know that Harriet Tubman led over 300 slaves to freedom?" Emma told Bear one evening. "And she had a price on her head the whole time, but she kept going back because people needed her." "Sounds like someone I know," Bear said. "Mr. Rodriguez says heroes aren't born. They're made through the choices they make when things are hard." "Your teacher's a smart man." Emma set down her homework. "Bear, do you think Daddy was a hero?" "I know he was. But he died. Heroes aren't supposed to die." Bear chose his words carefully. "Heroes die all the time, Emma. That's what makes them heroes. They do the right thing even when it costs them everything." "Is that what you are? A hero?" "No, I'm just a man trying to keep his promises." "That's the same thing." October brought the 1-year anniversary of Victor Reyes' arrest and a letter that changed everything. Bear opened the official-looking envelope to find a notice from the Arizona State Adoption Court. Emma's adoption could be finalized. All the paperwork, all the evaluations, all the legal proceedings were complete. If Bear wanted to officially adopt Emma, make her legally his daughter in every sense, he just had to appear in court. He found Emma in her room reading. "Emma, I need to ask you something important." Emma set down her book. "Okay." "The court says I can officially adopt you, make you Emma Williams instead of Emma Chen. But that's a big decision. It means legally I'd be your father, not just your guardian." Emma didn't hesitate. "I want that. You don't need time to think about it. I've been thinking about it since the desert, since the day you told me you'd never let anyone hurt me again." Emma's voice was steady. "You're my dad, Bear. You have been for a long time. This just makes it official. Your last name is the only thing you have left from your birth parents. No, I have their courage, their love, their belief that good people exist." Emma smiled. "But I want your name. Because you're my family now." The adoption hearing was scheduled for November 15th. The courtroom was packed, all 6 angels, Mama Rose, Emma's grandparents who'd flown in from San Francisco, Mrs. Alvarez, even Martinez. Judge Morrison presided again, which Bear took as a good sign. "Mr. Williams, you're here to finalize the adoption of Emma Chen, correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Emma, do you understand what adoption means?" Emma stood up straight. "It means Bear becomes my legal father. It means I become Emma Williams. It means we're family forever. And that's what you want, more than anything." Judge Morrison smiled. "Then, by the power invested in me by the state of Arizona, I hereby grant this adoption. Emma Chen is now Emma Williams, daughter of Marcus Williams. Congratulations to you both." The courtroom erupted in applause. Emma ran to Bear and he lifted her into his arms. This girl who'd changed his life, this daughter who'd chosen him as much as he'd chosen her. "We did it. Emma whispered. Yeah, little bit. We did it. Margaret Chen approached them afterward, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she said to Bear, for loving her the way Michael wanted her to be loved. She makes it easy. Richard shook Bear's hand. We'd like to stay involved in Emma's life, if that's acceptable. You're her grandparents. Of course it's acceptable. That night, the Angels threw the biggest party the clubhouse had ever seen. Someone brought a cake that said, "Welcome to the family, Emma Williams," in frosting. Diesel rigged up speakers and played music loud enough to rattle windows. Ghost gave Emma a leather jacket with Williams stitched across the back. Emma wore it with pride, dancing with Mama Rose, laughing with the Angels, completely and utterly home. Bear watched from the porch, beer in hand, feeling something he hadn't felt in 20 years. Peace. You did good, brother, Diesel said, joining him. We did good. All of us. Nah, this was you. You saved that kid. You gave her a family. You kept every promise. Bear thought about Michael Chen's letter. Keep her safe. Keep her alive. Help her finish what I started. He'd done all three. 5 years later, Emma stood at her middle school graduation valedictorian of her 8th grade class. Bear sat in the front row watching her give a speech that made half the audience cry. When I was 6 years old, I lost everything, Emma said, her voice carrying across the auditorium. My parents were murdered. I was left alone in the desert to die. I had every reason to give up, to stop trusting, to stop believing that good people existed. She paused, found Bear in the audience. But then I met a man who taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about promises kept. It's about showing up when things are hard. It's about love that doesn't quit, even when the world gives you every reason to. Emma's voice strengthened. My father, my adopted father, is a United States Marine and a Hell's Angel. He's not perfect. He's rough around the edges. He rides a motorcycle and has tattoos and probably scares half the parents in this room. Laughter rippled through the audience. But he's the best father anyone could ask for, because he taught me that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather. Sometimes they have beards and scars and a past that would break most people. But they show up anyway. They keep their promises anyway. They love anyway. Emma looked directly at Bear. Dad, thank you for finding me, for choosing me, for teaching me that the worst day of your life doesn't have to define the rest of your life. She turned back to her classmates. We're all going to face hard things, all of us. The question isn't whether bad things will happen. The question is, who will we be when they do? Will we give up? Or will we be brave? Will we run? Or will we stand and fight? Will we close our hearts? Or will we love anyway? Emma's voice rang out clear and strong. I choose brave. I choose fight. I choose love. Because that's what my father taught me. And I hope that's what all of you will choose too. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Afterward, Bear found Emma surrounded by friends and teachers, but she broke away immediately to hug him. What'd you think? I think you're going to change the world little bit. I learned from the best. 4 more years passed. Emma got her motorcycle license at 16. Bear insisted on teaching her. Himself wouldn't trust anyone else with her safety. She dated a boy named Andrew for 6 months until Bear scared him off by cleaning his gun on the porch every time Andrew came to pick Emma up. Dad, you have to stop doing that, Emma said after Andrew broke up with her. Doing what? Intimidating my boyfriends. I wasn't intimidating him, I was cleaning my gun. On the porch, in full view, while staring at him. Coincidence. Emma rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. You're impossible. That's why you love me. Unfortunately, yes. Senior year brought college applications and difficult conversations about the future. Emma wanted to study criminal justice at Arizona State, wanted to become an FBI agent like her birth father. Bear supported her completely while quietly terrifying every FBI recruiter who came within 10 feet of her. Mr. Williams, one recruiter said carefully. Emma has an exceptional application. Her test scores, her background, her personal statement. She's exactly the kind of person the Bureau needs. She's also my daughter, and the FBI already cost her one father. That's not fair. Fair is a word people use when they want you to accept something unacceptable. Bear's voice went cold. If Emma chooses the FBI, I'll support her. But if anything happens to her because of that choice, there won't be enough federal agents in the country to protect you from me. Are we clear? The recruiter nodded quickly. Crystal clear. Emma overheard the conversation and confronted Bear afterward. You can't threaten FBI recruiters. I didn't threaten. I made a promise. Dad. Emma, you're 18 years old. You can make your own choices. But I'm allowed to be scared for you. Emma softened. I know. But Daddy did important work. Work that mattered. I want to do that too. Your dad died doing that work. And you almost died doing yours. But you don't regret it, do you? Bear didn't have an answer for that. Graduation day arrived in May. Emma walked across the stage to receive her diploma, fourth in her class with full scholarship to Arizona State. The Angels attended in force, all 6 of them, plus Mama Rose, plus Emma's grandparents, plus half the clubhouse. They cheered so loud when Emma's name was called that the principal had to ask for quiet. After the ceremony, Emma found Bear waiting by his Harley. Want to go for a ride? She asked. Where to? The desert, where you found me. They rode in silence, wind in their faces, sun warm on their backs. The spot was still there, the same stretch of highway, the same endless sky, the same heat shimmering off pavement. Emma climbed off her bike and stood where she'd sat 12 years ago, waiting to die. I remember being so scared, she said quietly. So alone. I thought that was it. I thought I was going to die out here and no one would ever know what happened to me. Bear stood beside her, saying nothing, just being present. And then I heard your engines, and everything changed. Emma turned to face him. You gave me a life, Dad. Not just survival, a real life. Family, home, love, purpose. You gave me the same thing. Emma smiled. We saved each other. Yeah, I guess we did. They stood there for a long moment, 2 people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and built something beautiful anyway. Then Emma said, I got accepted to the FBI Academy. Full scholarship. They want me to start in the fall. Bear's heart clenched, but he kept his voice steady. That's what you want. It's what I need to do to finish Daddy's work, to make sure other families don't get destroyed like mine did. You don't owe anyone that, Emma. I know, but I owe it to myself, to become the person both my fathers believed I could be. Bear pulled her into a hug. Then you do it, and you do it better than anyone ever has. You'll worry about me every day, until the day I die. Good, that means you love me. More than anything in this world. 3 months later, Bear drove Emma to Quantico for FBI training. The Angels escorted them in formation, 7 motorcycles riding through Virginia like a funeral procession and a victory parade combined. At the academy gates, Bear helped Emma unload her bags. You've got everything: your phone charger, extra socks, the GPS tracker. I definitely didn't hide in your luggage. Emma laughed. Dad, I'll be fine. I know, but I'm allowed to worry. Emma hugged him tight. I love you. Thank you for everything. For saving me. For raising me. For being exactly the father I needed. Bear's voice roughened. You're going to do great things, little bit. I already have. I survived. I chose love over hate. I chose courage over fear. I chose family over bitterness. Emma pulled back to look at his face. I chose you, and you chose me. That's the greatest thing either of us will ever do. Bear watched Emma walk through the academy gates, watched her turn and wave one last time, watched her disappear into the building that would train her to be an FBI agent. And he thought about a scared 6-year-old sitting on a highway 12 years ago, waiting to die. That little girl had become a woman who would save others the way she'd been saved. That little girl had become his daughter. That little girl had changed everything. On the ride back to Arizona, Diesel pulled up beside Bear at a rest stop. "You okay, brother?" Bear thought about the question, thought about Emma, thought about Michael Chen's letter, and promises kept, and a life built from ashes. "Yeah," he said finally. "I'm okay. Miss her already. Every second. She'll be back. I know. But she's not really mine anymore. She belongs to the world now." Diesel shook his head. "Nah, she'll always be yours. That's what family means." Bear climbed back on his Harley and rode home where Mama Rose was waiting with dinner and the angels were waiting with stories. Where Emma's room still held her motorcycle vest and drawings and memories. Where a little girl had learned to be brave and a broken man had learned to be a father. Home. 6 years later. Special Agent Emma Williams stood in the Arizona desert watching FBI teams arrest the last members of a cartel operation that had terrorized 3 states. She'd spent 3 years working her way up through the bureau, had proven herself on case after case, had earned the respect of agents twice her age, and today she'd led the operation that finally destroyed the organization that had murdered her birth parents. Her phone rang. "Bear." "Hey, Dad?" "Saw the news. That was your case." "Yeah, we got them all." Bear was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Your father would be proud, both of them." Emma looked at the desert, at the endless sky, at the place where her life had ended and begun again. "I couldn't have done this without you, without everything you taught me. You did this yourself, little bit. This was all you." "No, this was us. This was family. This was love that didn't quit even when everything was broken." After hanging up, Emma stood in the desert and thought about promises and courage and the man who'd stopped on a highway 12 years ago to save a child he didn't know. That man had given her everything, and she'd spent every day since trying to be worthy of that gift. Back at the clubhouse, Bear sat on the porch with Mama Rose watching the sunset. "You did good, Marcus," Mama Rose said quietly. "We all did." "No, this was you. You took a broken child and loved her until she was whole. You kept every promise. You proved that family is what you make it, not what you're born with." Bear thought about Emma 6 years old in the desert, 8 years old, learning to ride, 18 years old, graduating high school, 24 years old, taking down cartels. Every version of her was perfect. Every version of her was his daughter. "She saved me as much as I saved her," Bear said. "That's how it works. That's how love works." The sun set over the Arizona desert, painting the sky in colors Emma used to draw when she was small. And Bear knew that whatever happened next, whatever challenges came, whatever battles needed fighting, they'd face them together. Because that's what family did. They showed up. They kept promises. They loved anyway. And in the end, that was the only thing that mattered, not the battles won or the enemies defeated or the justice served. Just love. Just family. Just promises kept. That was enough. That was everything.